Hey there, welcome to Chem Eng Weekly. Choosing your 5 university choices is one of the key components of the UCAS application process, so it's vital that you take time to consider these properly. If you haven't seen the UCAS process explained video, click on the iCard to watch it now. So why is it important that you put thought into choosing your 5 university choices? Well, these 5 university choices constitute universities that you'd actually really like to go to. So if you just select them blindly, you could end up at a university that you don't really want to go to, or on a course at a university that you don't particularly enjoy. Of course, it may not always be the case like this, with some people blindly selecting a university and actually enjoying it a lot there, but more often than not, this is not the case. So what are the most important requirements when considering a university to go to? In this video, we'll be covering grades, course requirements, course length, and much more. So let's get into it. The first thing to consider is your grades. With the majority of people seeing end-of-year exams in year 12, often dubbed the UCAS exams, the predicted grades are fundamental to your university choices. Whether you are happy with your end-of-year 12 examination grades, looking to improve on these in another set of exams before the final application deadline, or awaiting an appeal, you cannot effectively gauge what university choices are open to you until you receive your grades, irrespective of whether you agree if they determine your ability as a candidate or not. When you receive your grades, you should take a look at what options are available to you with those predicted grades, looking at some of the grade requirements that are higher than what you've got, some of them at the same level, and some of them below. Typically, your 5 university choices comprise of 1 university choice above your predicted grades, a minimum of 2 at your predicted grade, and a minimum of 1 below your predicted grade. This is just so you can get a broad spectrum of plan A, B and C. But what do I mean by that? By plan A, I mean the university choice that is above your predicted grades, something you can strive to achieve and work towards as an aspiration. Normally the plan A university is where most people would like to go above all the other ones. The plan B universities, or the ones that you are already achieving the predicted grades for, are the ones that if you continue at the same pace, you should be able to get in comfortably. And the plan C university comprises the option that if things do not go to plan and you achieve under your predicted grades, you still have the option of going to university should you wish to take it. So for example, if a candidate receives 3 A's as their examination results from their end of years, after their appeal process, or after the second set of exams, they would be able to look at universities as plan A with an A-star AA option, plan B at 3 A's, or plan C at AAB or below. However, that is not to say that the candidate should be pigeonholed into applying for only these universities or looking at only these grades, because should they wish to and think they are capable of achieving, for example, 3 A stars, they should still go and certainly have a look at the requirements for those grades and what they would need to do to achieve them and which universities that would comprise of. It all depends on the realistic ability of the candidate. When they look at all these grades, they should then make a list of all the universities that fall into the Plan A, Plan B and Plan C section and cross out accordingly which ones they do not want to go to, as with the following criteria we'll be looking at in the rest of this video. The next consideration should be the course type, as the type of course also has different requirements, even specifically looking at chemical engineering. For example, if you apply to, say, University X to study a BEng in chemical engineering, the requirements may only be AAB, but for example, applying to study a master's at the same University X might require an AAA, suggesting there is some discrepancy within the type of course and the grade requirements there as well. The structure of the courses across the UK for chemical engineering is pretty much the same, with the same sort of modules and topics being covered across the universities. However, the course structure can change significantly between universities, especially highlighting here Oxbridge and Edinburgh. This leads to discrepancy in the number of years required to achieve the same or a similar sort of degree. At Edinburgh, it would be a 5-year course to achieve a master's, whereas at the other universities, it may just be a 4-year course. Additionally, the paths from Oxbridge into chemical engineering are not similar to other universities at all, with Cambridge doing natural sciences or engineering first and then going on to specialise, whereas Oxford doing engineering science and then specialising in the 3rd or 4th year, meaning you should definitely consider the course structure and the course length when choosing a university and delete your options accordingly. Building into this, you should also consider the universities running a sandwich year or an industrial placement year, as well as a year abroad, because this gives you a new experience that you may not experience otherwise and gives you a slight edge when looking at university and job applications moving forward. Of course, if this does not appeal to you, feel free to eliminate this from your options, but you should always consider it as this is a new experience that you don't get too often. It is also vitally important that you consider whether the course is accredited or not. Going back to the earlier example of University X, the 4-year master's course may be accredited by the Institution of Chemical Engineers, which gives it recognition amongst employers and companies worldwide as a degree that is to a high standard. However, doing a master's at, say, University Y in chemical engineering might not be accredited, meaning you may need to take additional qualifications after you qualify, causing another discrepancy within the time studied. This is again a very important consideration when looking to apply and make your university choice, because sometimes you may end up having to study longer to get the same degree. Additionally, you should also consider the specific subject and other expertise requirements when you're applying for these courses. For example, some chemical engineering degrees require the student to have studied physics and chemistry as a base minimum, whereas others require them to study chemistry and maths. So you must check that your compatibility within these courses is met. Building into this, you must also consider if you're happy doing an admissions assessment or an interview. And given how the application year is often a busy one with loads of commitments outside the application process, such as studying from exams, trying to accommodate other activities and more, you have to consider how much time and how much of a work-life balance you'll be able to achieve with all of the university application choices and what they require from you. Another consideration could be the league tables of the universities, because they are ranked by their research and teaching quality, as well as student satisfaction and the employment rate after they qualify with their degree. So this could be something that you look at if you really want to make sure you're going for a safe choice or a competitive choice when applying to a particular university choice and a particular degree. And finally, amongst the other things you should consider are location, who else is applying, and the societies and activities you can get involved with. In terms of who else is applying, one of the major don'ts in terms of applying for a university and selecting a choice is applying to a university just because your friends are applying. This is because there's no guarantee that both of you, either of you, but all of you or neither of you will get in. So it's better or safer not to use that as your main motivation, because you could end up getting a place at a university you don't really want to go anyway and maybe regret that you didn't fill in an alternative one when you were thinking about applying before. Also, with regards to the location, you should always look into whether you'd be happy staying at home or moving out, because if you're staying at home, then some of the locations may just be knocked out completely. So if we look at a university applicant from Birmingham who wants to stay at home during the course of their degree, it wouldn't be advisable for them to apply to a London university, because it would be nearly impossible for them to stay at home whilst they study at this London university, making it quite difficult for them to meet that requirement and possibly having to move out against their wishes. So that's why location is very important as well. Finally, the last consideration you should have is the societies and clubs you can get involved with, because this will help you to better envisage yourself going to university and where you think you'll be able to fit in more. It also has a secondary effect of motivating you more to study to get into that university because of the depth of availability you have after you get in. So those were the top considerations you should take into account when applying and picking your top university choices. Thank you for watching the video. Be sure to like it if you enjoyed it, and leave your comments and suggestions down in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow us on our social media channels, and if you click here or here, you can watch another one of our videos. Click up here to subscribe, and thank you very much.